a basic introduction to Ruby and a basic introduction for Rails, and we'll be building a very small demo application in Rails so that you guys get introduced to ROR. Also, it will be 1 hour long session, and during the session, if you guys have any questions, you can ask me via the questions pane, and I would be answering your questions in a logical break or at the very same moment if it is important for us to proceed, but all your questions will be answered. So we'll begin now. Alright, so we'll be building an application with the Ruby on Rails framework, and you can view the course details on the Edureka website. You also have their phone numbers for any details. So we will be learning, by the end of this session, you will be having an introduction to Ruby on Rails framework. You'll be looking at the features of Ruby on Rails. We'll understand what is MVC architecture, and we'll build a small demo Rails application also. So we will be doing some hands-on coding. Alright. So why should you learn Ruby? From what I've understood, you guys already have some programming background, so you have probably coded in other languages. So why should you pick up Ruby? Ruby is very easy to learn. You can just go through the book. There are a lot of Ruby books available. So once you go through the books, you'll realize how easy and simple it is to pick up. So it saves you time by writing more with less. So you will see, I'll give you an example as well. You will see with the help of Ruby, you will be able to write a lot of functionality with very simple programming statements. So for example, if you want to get a user input, you only have to write one word, which is getS. So getS stands for getString. So if you want to print something, you do a putS. So you actually tend to achieve a lot of functionality with writing very simple small programming constructs. You can create web apps. So the Rails framework is built on Ruby language. So it lets you create web apps very quickly and with ease. Because there are certain principles that Rails follows, which lets you create your web apps very quickly. We'll see a very basic web app today, and we'll see how quickly it can be created. So the fact that Ruby is very easy to pick up, it lets you write with very less code, lets you write a lot of functionality with very less code, helps you build web applications very quickly. The turnaround time is very fast in Ruby. Ruby is free of charge. It's open source. You can also view its source code. You can download it. Anybody can download it and use it. So no purchasing of anything for using Ruby. Ruby can be customized. So there are certain classes, predefined classes like any other language. In Ruby also you have predefined classes like a string, a file class, or a number class. So in Ruby as well you have these classes. But anytime you can open a class, add a method to it, and enhance its functionality. You can also override a method by as simply as opening a class and um, just rewriting the method. So for example, I want to open string class, so I can do something like class string, and let us say if there is a method called upcase, I can simply just write it, and that would change the behavior of my upcase method. So it's as easy as this. Just open the class and override anything that you want to. All right. So Ruby is portable. You can run Ruby on Mac, Linux, and Windows machine without a lot of overhead. There is a little overhead in Windows, but it runs very smooth in Mac and Linux. And any code that you have written in one operating system runs very smoothly in the other one. So no change of anything. You just have to install it and use it. Learning Ruby helps you get a job, of course. That's why you guys are here. Um, I'm primarily a Ruby on Rails developer. I have an experience of close to 6 years of development in ROR and total of 9. But yes, and on an average, I receive 2 to 3 calls for job change per week. So that's a lot of calls. So it is very, the demand is more, the supply is less. So it helps you get a job. You can make your own domain specific language. So Ruby is it's an all multi-purpose language. So it helps you write scripts. We'll see a little bit of Rails. So we'll be seeing some Ruby code as well, because Rails is written in Ruby and you use Ruby syntax for writing Rails. So we'll see how simple it is. So you can pick up that simplicity and create your own domain specific language. So Rails is just a domain specific language built on Ruby. You can just pick a lot of you have a lot of them. You have Sinatra, you have Rails. So you can just as well, since the programming is very easy, creating a DSL is easy as well. So then the next reason you should learn Ruby is that it has a very strong online community to help. It's open source, free of charge. Uh, it offers you excellent support. Any problem, I till date I haven't faced any problem for which I could not find a solution online. And even if it is not existing, there are a lot of people who are ready to help you. You can visit rubyonrails.org/community and you can have a look. The community is extensive and it's really helpful as well. You can also look at Stack Overflow. It is a question answering site. So a lot of questions get answered specifically for Ruby on Rails in Stack Overflow. So that's one of the good sites for help. All right. Guys, if you have any questions, you can ask me in the questions pane and I'll be answering them immediately almost. All right. So what's Ruby basically? All right. So uh, okay. Okay, so I have a few questions. The first question is from Joseph, and he wants to have a look at the slides once more. So we basically covered the agenda for today's session, and we also saw why should we be learning Ruby. So these are the two slides. So it's easy to learn, easy to pick up, free of charge, can be customized. So you haven't missed a lot, just the advantages of learning Ruby. So I have a question from Praveen. Is asking how Ruby is different from PHP. So Ruby is just a programming language, whereas PHP is a web application development framework. So you can compare Ruby on Rails with PHP, but not Ruby. So Ruby is just the language that Rails is built on. So Rails is the web development framework, and it can be compared to PHP. So we'll see a lot of advantages with Ruby on Rails in the upcoming sessions. So first being very fast development, and we'll see the reasons for it, and you'll be answered. Your questions will be answered in the upcoming slides. Okay, so I have a question, another question from Bala. He's asking, can Ruby be used for Android device automation testing? Yes, Ruby can be Ruby is actually used in a lot of automation testings. For example, Selenium has a Ruby extension. So basically, Selenium can be used for testing anything, and you can use the Ruby extension to test just about anything. So yes, Ruby can be used for automating testing. Um, then I have a question again from Joseph. Um, so he's asking which all companies use use Ruby. So we'll be covering this in the future slides, but to give you a brief answer, you have Twitter. Twitter is made on was made on ROR. So, and it was solely responsible for making ROR famous. So we'll be seeing in the future slides which all companies use it, but Twitter is the major one, is the most important one which uses ROR and was single-handedly responsible for making it famous. Sartaj Singh is saying, yeah, PHP is also a language, but it's primarily used for web application development. So that's why I said that you can compare PHP with ROR. All right. I have PHP is primarily used for. I have a question from Amond also that PHP is also a language. Yes, it is, but primarily used for you take PHP and all that. It's primarily used for web application development, so that's why. Then I have a question from Joseph. He's asking whether it is compiled or interpreted. Ruby is an interpreted language. Then and are there some other frameworks like Zend? Surtaj, I don't understand your question. So probably you can tell it to me once more. Um, I have a question from Divya Prakash, and he's asking, is Rails can be used without Ruby? Can we replace Ruby with any other? No, Rails cannot be used with any other programming language. The name itself, ROR, which says Ruby on Rails, so it is built on top of Ruby. It uses the Ruby syntax, and the whole source code of Rails, you can have a look at it on GitHub. The whole source code of Rails is built on Ruby. So the source code is written in it. That's why you program in it. So you can't use um, any other programming language. All right. Okay. Then I've been asked questions about comparing it with other languages and frameworks. So we'll be looking at advantages of ROR in the future slides. So I won't cover these questions right now. So once I've covered the advantages part, probably then if your question is still unanswered, you can ask me again, and I will let you know. So Joseph is asking, can I say JavaScript is Ruby? And jQuery is Ruby on Rails. Yes, somewhat. Yes, you can say that. All right. So differences with other programming languages, we'll be seeing the advantages of Ruby on Rails in the future slides. If it doesn't get answered, we'll take that up again or at the end of the session. All right. So Ruby is an object-oriented programming language. Everything in Ruby is an object. It has simple English-like syntax, so it's very easy to write. You can achieve a lot of functionality with less code. So what I'll do is I'll open interactive Ruby Bash, which has the short form of IRB. This is an interactive Ruby Bash, so you don't need to create any file and execute it. You can just type in your commands here and test it out. So if you install Ruby, this comes with it by default. So once you've installed Ruby, you will be able to run this. So let us say 1 plus 2, 3, of course, just to test it out. All right. So how is it simple? So let us say I have a string Shreya, for example, and I would like to, you know, let's say upcase it. So that's upcase for you. And then I would like to find its length. So dot length. Then I would like to see if it is even. So I have a question. I have a method called even. So Ruby is built with, little small functionalities. You've seen how I could just, use 4 methods and see if the length of an upcase string is even or not. So Ruby is full of these small convenience methods, as I call them, and it actually makes your programming headache a lot lesser. And that's why actually it takes very less time to code in Ruby and in Rails as well. And let's check out Ruby on Rails. It's a full stack framework and it is used to develop web applications. It is working under MVC pattern. We'll see MVC in the upcoming slide. It is open source, so you can go to I'll just show you the source code for Ruby for Rails. So if you go to GitHub, GitHub is the online repository for storing 99% of ROR and Ruby gems. So let's say Rails. Himanshu, I have a question from till time it's opening. I'll answer a question. Himanshu is asking, is ROR secure? Yes, there are a lot of built-in features with ROR. So you can have a look at Ruby guides, Rails guides, and you can check out the security section. So it automatically prevents you from CSRF, cross-site scripting, and a lot of other things basically. So just go through the Rails guides for security, and you will be able to see what all does it have by default. It protects you from a lot of things basically, SQL injections, cross-site scripting, and so this is the source code of Rails, and this is open source. You can completely browse through it. It's an online repository. It's on github.com. So this is the source code, and you can just go and have a look at the code. It's available for everyone. And this is the security guide. So you can have a look at what all things are covered. So it will prevent session hijacking and replay attacks. Out of scope for the session right now, but very small, simple measures that you can use in your ROR. There are a lot of them are there by default, but a few of them you have to implement while programming, and they're very easy to implement basically. So I have a question. Is it necessary to install ROR to execute code? It is necessary to install ROR to create a Rails application, but the one that I was showing you right now, the bash, the IRB bash, you just need to install Ruby for it, and ROR is not necessary. All right. So Ruby and Rails framework is familiar. It's known for simplicity, productivity, speed of development, and reliable solution. Why is it simple and productive? Because it's written in Ruby. You'll see in a while. I'll show you a sample, a demo, and productivity. I'll just create a very small application, and you'll see what all things can be done. So I'll take, I think, 15-20 minutes to show you a demo, and we'll be building, let us say, a little small blogging application. So you'll see how it is productive. Then you have speed of development. It's very fast. You'll see in the session again. And for security, I have told you. Um, I have a question from Bala. He's asking, is Ruby easier than Python? So we'll, at the end of the session, we'll take up comparison with other programming languages, because I'm getting a lot of questions for it, and we'll get a little derailed from the session. So if you, the reason I'm saying we'll take at the end, because once you go through the demo, you'll realize automatically why is it simpler to code in ROR, and then we'll see. There's a question from Abhijit regarding the session hijacking. So I will be answering that at the end of the session, Abhijit, and I can answer that specifically for you. If you can stay back, I'll let you know. All right. So what are the examples of applications built on ROR? So you have GitHub. It's an online repository that you can use to store your code versions. So Git is the version control system, and GitHub is a standard online platform where which can be the remote repository for storing the code which has been versioned using Git. Then you have Yellow Pages, which is made on ROR. Then you have Shopify. Shopify is a e-commerce cart provider, and it's really popular with e-commerce websites. They integrate this Shopify cart, and it includes a lot of payment gateway integrations as well. So really popular. Then you have Twitter. It was made on ROR and was single-handedly responsible for making it famous. Then you have SlideShare. So SlideShare again is very common for sharing slides online. So these are the major things that use ROR. All right. So there are a few golden rules in Rails, and these rules in themselves, they are responsible for making Rails so much easier to use and development so much faster. We'll be seeing them in practice. So first is dry, which means don't repeat yourself. It's a standard programming paradigm, but Rails extends it a little further than the standard thing. So what do? Let us say let us say you want to format your date. So in your database, you're storing your data as a datetime field, and you want to, when you're displaying it to the user, you want to format it in some way. And there are a number of places where you're doing that. So what should you ideally do? You should create a function for it, and everywhere you should call a function, so that uh, let us say you made a change at one place, and if you hadn't used the function, you will have to make the change at all of these places. And in case you forget to make change at one place, then it is that's not the desired result. So putting it in one place is a good practice, good programming paradigm. But Rails extend it a lot more. So not just functions, it also it reuses a lot of things. So it can reuse HTML templates, it can reuse functions, it can use database columns and fields. So we'll see this in a while. How is it? Mm, how it uses dry. All right. The next is convention over configuration. So this is really the one principle which is responsible for making it so much easier to code in Rails. So what Rails does is basically it assumes a lot of things for you, and you don't have to write code for the things it assumes. Now there will be times when you would not want to assume, go with those defaults. So you can override them. So the only time you actually write code for something is when you want to not use the default setting which Rails uses. So it will assume a lot of things. For example, there's something called a model, which which is the which demonstrated which signifies the database table. So let us say a model is called article, and the corresponding table for it will be called articles, which is the plural of the name of the model. So it will assume that. So nowhere in your model will you have to specify that this particular model corresponds to this particular table. So that is what Rails will, assume for you, and then you will not have to write code for it. So by assuming a lot of things for you, it has decreased the amount of code that you have to write. You only have to write code when you want to configure you want to have your own configuration over the convention that Rails has assumed for you. All right. So let me create a Rails application for you. So I'll exit this IRB terminal. All right. So how do I create a Rails application? I can do Rails new, let us say demo, and this will create my application for me. So this will do a lot of things for you. So it has created a lot of files and folders. I'll be explaining them somewhat in the future slides, and we'll see what it does. So basically, this framework has created a lot of things. We will see what they are, what is the significance, what it is doing right now. So every functionality in Ruby is divided into gems. So you can install a gem, get a functionality, and start using it. So right now what it is doing, it is fetching a lot of gems for me, for example, Rails and everything that Rails depends on. So, CoffeeScript, then SAS for style sheets. So Rails is fetching all those gems for me right now and installed it. All right. So let me go to my demo application. So what it has done, it has created a folder for me. Let's see this folder. So I'm in my demo. So it has created this folder for me, demo. And if I open the gem file, so there is a gem file. We'll be seeing the structure, the directory structure. But I wanted to show you the gem file. So whole of Rails or even Ruby is divided into gems, which are nothing but functionalities which can be distributed. So you have gems like Rails, SQLite 3 for connecting to the database, and so on. So now that I'm developing on Windows, I need to add an additional gem. So I'll need to add CoffeeScript source, and this is the syntax. And after this, I need to specify the version, which will be 1.8.0, and I need to do a bundle update CoffeeScript source. So CoffeeScript is, it literally translates to your JavaScript. So um, it is very Ruby-like to write code in. So just a second. Sorry, I closed the file by mistake. So this will take some time to install. Till then, I'll answer your question. So I have a question. So Abhijit's question I'll answer at the end of the session, and it's regarding session hijacking. So I have a question from Deep. He says he has good knowledge of PHP, and He's asking, should I have to gain full knowledge of Ruby before starting ROR? Can you suggest a simple Ruby tutorial which is enough for me to start ROR? Okay. So, Satish Talim's tutorial is good, but in our session, in the module that we follow in our course, we have two dedicated sessions for Ruby as the first two sessions, and that is where you'll be learning enough Ruby that you can start with ROR. So yes, learning Ruby is essential, but not too much in depth. So you don't need to learn about threads and all that garbage collection and all that. But yes, things like iterators and how to manipulate strings, how to manipulate files, or create classes, inheritance, all that you will have to understand to start with ROR. All right. The next question is from Himanshu. If the database contains table name article, even if it has articles already present, then what will the model do? So anytime I create a model, it will try to create a table if it is there, and so I will have to we'll see that in action. But if there is already a table name articles, it will throw an error. So so basically what happens is when I try to create my model called article, it will create a migration for me. This migration tries to create the table. Now, when I run the migration, it will throw an error saying that the table is already there. So one thing that I can do is I can modify my migration, that don't create a table, just modify it according to my model, or I will have to explicitly have to handle it in some way, like if I don't want to use the existing table, I can change the model the table name. So in the model, I can write something like set table name, and it will start picking that table name. So by convention, it would pick articles, but if I write a line in it like set table name equal to XYZ, it will start picking that. Ashok has a question. Um I missed the webinar in the beginning. Are you going to? Yes, I will upload it to my Dropbox, and this session is being recorded, and it will be shared to you by the support team. So yes, you can have that. All right. Initial setup looks like Node.js, and do I have to know Ruby to write chef a little bit? You will have to know Ruby to write chef recipes. From which source can I have deep and advanced ROR framework? I would say you can take up a course with us and you can get to know. But other than this, screencasts by Ryan Bates, which is called Railscast, is an excellent source. So you can use that. I would say, Sartaj, if you want to learn deep and advanced, it is nothing but practice that will lead you to learn deep and advanced. Anytime you encounter a problem, look up online, you'll find its solution. So that's how you can pick it up and learn. All right. So my bundle is there, is updated now, and I will do a Rails test. This will start my Rails server. Running these commands in Windows takes a little bit of time. I would suggest if you want to pick up Rails or Ruby for that matter, do it in a do it in a Linux or a Mac machine, because they're completely supported on there. So the name of the default server for Rails, when you install Rails, it will be shipped with a server. It's called Webrick. Webrick is a very lightweight server, and it's a combination of a web and an app server. But it has limitations. It's lightweight, but it is good enough for development. In production, you can use anything, a combination of Apache, Passenger, anything basically. All right. So my server is running, and it is running on this address and on port 3000. So let's try and see what is there. So I'll do a localhost 3000. So right now I have a bare bones application. I haven't written any code in it. So this is the blank. This is the default page. And once I start writing code, it will be, I can navigate through it. But yes, if you see this page, it means your application was successfully created. All right, let's get back to our presentation. All right, so we did Rails new app name. When you create an application using Rails helper script, you can see a newly created directory structure. The directory structure will have the following directories that will be explained in the next slide. So let me just show it to you first. So this is the directory structure. I hope all of you can see it. If you want, I can increase the font a little. So you have the app folder, and inside the app folder you have assets which will store your JavaScripts, images, and style sheets. So inside your app folder will contain 90% code that you're going to write. So you have assets which will store images, JavaScripts, and style sheets. Then you have controllers, models, and views. We'll see what is MVC, and then we'll get to know what are these. Then you have mailers. So in this folder, any mails that Rails sent out is they're going to be stored, templates for that, and the corresponding methods for that. Then you have helpers. These helpers, so basically, what are Rails views? They are templates which integrates your Rails and Ruby code to display the data. So let us say you want to format the date. So you will write some Ruby code in it to format the date. But the principle is that you should not put anything other than your HTML and only the required Ruby code in it. So it's separation of concerns. So you don't put JavaScript in it, you don't put any CSS in it, you don't put complicated Ruby code in it as well. So that complicated Ruby code, if it is there, you can put in helpers. So helpers will let you define functions that you can call in your views. So that's helpers. So this is the most important folder, app. Bin stores various scripts that you can run. So you saw me running Rails. So basically it gives you a lot of command line executables. Then you have the config directory. It stores various configuration things like, in the environments folder, you have the development environment configuration, the production environment, and the test. So three environments by default: development, production, and test. So so let's see the difference, just one difference. We'll be seeing one difference. There are many, but in your production, your classes are cached. So anytime you update your code, you will have to restart your server. Whereas in your development environment, your classes are not cached. So you make a change to your code, it will be reflected immediately on your browser when you refresh it. You don't need to restart the server because your classes are not cached. So things like this. So basically, it contains a lot of configuration level code. Then you have the DB folder, which stores details about your database. So in this file, database.yml, this will actually store your database details. But these are other additional files. We'll see in a while. What is basically store migration, which modifies your database. So that's what your database will store. And the database configuration will be in your database.yml file. All right. Then you have the lib folder, which stores various tasks that you create. So let us say at 12 o'clock every night you want to run a cron job to send newsletters to everybody. So you can create a small task for it that will be accessed by your cron job. So this is where those tasks are stored. Then you have the log folder. This is It stores your log. So there can be 3 kinds of log for the 3 environments. You can create a new environment on your own, but for by default it comes with 3. And this is the log for development. So if you see, it says there's a get request for the root, and it processed the welcome controller and the index action, and it completed in it rendered a 200 OK status, and it took this much amount of time. And this is the exact file that it rendered. So basically, anything that you do will be getting logged in your log file. Then you have the public folder. So any page that you want to that should be served statically should be stored in your public folder. So you don't have to go via the app server to retrieve it and then render it. Your web server will directly access it and serve it, so it will be very fast. Anything is stored here is accessed directly by the web server and will be rendered very fast. Then you have the test folder, so you can write test cases to test your application. So this is the folder where you can write your test cases. Then you have the temp folder, which stores various temporary things like the process ID on which your server is running, your sessions, your caching information, things like that. Then you have the vendor directory. It is for any third-party things that you install and you want to use in your application. So that's your vendor folder. Then you have the gitignore file. So basically, it assumes that you are going to use the Git version control system, and the gitignore file is list down the files that you do not want to track via the version control. So this file specifies that. Then you have config.ru, and it is used by a rack-based server to basically it's for starting the application. Then you have the gem file I already told you about. So these are the gems that your application will be using. You can add to it, and when you add, you will have to update. You will have to run a bundle update command so that it gets installed, and you will have to restart the server as well. Then you have the gemlog file. So basically, it lists down all the gems that your application uses and the dependencies as well with the exact version number. So let us say you have an action mailer gem and it is dependent on action pack, action view, and mail gem. This is just an example. So one gem can be dependent on other. So when I install one, the other should be installed as well. So your gemlog file will list all that. Then you have the rake file. Again, it is for loading tasks and starting your application. Then you have the README. This is a basic template for README. So when I showed you the code for Rails on GitHub, so this was the README that was rendered. So basically, you can have your README and it will be displayed on. If you put your code on GitHub, this is where it will be displayed. So this is a sample README, things that you should cover like the Ruby version, system dependencies, etc. Alright. So we created a basic application, a bare bones application, and this is the folder structure. I have told you about it. So app contains your controllers, model, views, helpers, mailer, and sets. Bin contains Rails scripts. Then your config contains your applications, routes, and database, etc. Your config.ru file tells you about rack configuration, so little out of scope for this session. Your database contains your database schema and migrations, which are files which denote changes that you want to make to your database. Then you have the gem file and gemfile.log. These files allow you to specify what gem dependencies are needed for your Rails applications. Then you have the lib folder. It's for extended modules of your application, so you can create tasks and you can access it from the outside. Then you have the log folder, which stores the log files. Then you have the public folder. So anything that is in the public folder will be seen by the world as is, and they mostly contain static files. You have rake file. This file locates and loads tasks that can be run from the command line. Then you have readme. It's a brief instruction manual for your application. You should edit this file to tell others what does the application do, how to set it up, and so on. Then you have test. It's a folder for unit test, fixtures, which is nothing but dummy data, and other test operators. You have a temp folder. It contains things like cache, process ID, and session files. You have the vendor folder. It's a place for all third-party code. And in a typical Rails application, this includes vendors gems. All right. So this is the default Rails page that we saw, a bare bones page. Okay. So let us first let me give you a brief introduction about MVC first. So what is MVC? Um, just give me a second. Okay. So what is MVC? MVC basically stands for Model View Controller, and your model basically corresponds to your a table in a database. So let us say I have an articles model that I told you about. It will correspond to the articles table in your database. Then your controller decides how to route a request in your Rails application, and view is what the end user will be seeing. So a typical request, what it looks like is a request comes in from the browser. It is intercepted by the server. Your server goes to the routes file to see which controller should it land on, which controller and action. Once it is decided, the controller invokes the model and fetches data. Once that is done, once data is fetched, it is returned back to the controller. The controller now invokes the view to which the data is passed, and view takes that data and displays it to the end user. It adds some formatting to it and displays it to the end user. So that's the typical cycle. So let's just create a controller first. So I'll go to the command line. I will have to kill this server. Okay. So I will do Rails generate. So G is short for form for generate. So I'll do Rails G controller, and then the name of the controller, home, and the action that I want to create. So let us say index. Let's see if this has finished. No. So as I told you, in Windows it does take some time to execute the commands. Okay. So you see it has created a lot of files. So let's see first. So it is, I'll go to the app folder, and inside the app folder, in the controllers folder, it created a home controller for me. So this is the home controller, and inside the controller, it has created an action for me called index, which is dummy right now. It's blank right now. And inside my views, it has created a folder called home, and it has created an index.html.erb. So this is again an example of convention over configuration. So my index action will have a view called index.html.erb. That's a convention. You just needed to tell Rails that create an action, create a controller with an action called index, and it is all automatically generated a view for you, which is the same name as that of the action, and the name and the folder in which is stored is the name of the controller. Alright, so let's see this. Let's see what has it generated. So I'll do a Rails server. So this is the command for executing the server. What I'll do is I'll open another command prompt so that we don't have to restart the server again and again. Alright. So let's see the result of this. So I'll go to home/index. Let the server start. Okay, it's started now. Alright, so this is the view that it has rendered. So if you see inside my view, it is written home/index, and anything that I change here, for example, if I write Shreya here, it will be reflected in the view. There you go. So what has happened? What has happened is that a request has come in with home/index. So this is home/index, and corresponding to it, the home controller got invoked, and inside the home controller, the index got invoked. So nothing happening here. We are not fetching any data for the index controller as of now because we don't have anything in our database as of now. But you can fetch your data here, and it will by default render the index template inside the home folder in your views, and you can do anything that you want to do here. So that's basically a controller and a view. So let's do a small demo. What I'll do is so there is another command called Rails generate scaffold. So what this does is it creates the entire gamut of model, view, and controller for us. So you don't have to write code for it, but it will assume a lot of defaults and write code for you. So let's see this. So I do a Rails G scaffold post. For example, I want to create a post, and it will have a field called title, which will be a string. And then I will have another field called body, which will be a text. So let me run this command. I'm going to close the extra files. Okay, so you see it has done created a lot of stuff for us. So let's see. The first thing that we'll be seeing that it has created is the model. So it has created a post model, which is empty right now. Then it has created a posts controller, and it has written all this code in my post controller as well. So basically it has written code uh, for the index method, which is like listing all the posts, for a show method, which is seeing the details of a post, then the new method, which renders the new form for creating a post, then the edit method, which renders the edit form for editing a post, then you have the create method, which which will accept a post request from the new form and save your post to the database. Similarly, you have the update. It accepts a patch or a put request, which updates the particular post. Then you have the destroy method, which is responsible for destroying a particular post. And these are some additional methods, not in scope right now. But yes, it will try to find a post, and this is explicitly whitelisting the parameters which can be updated when you are creating from a from a browser. Now, if we see the index action, okay, first let me just show a demo and then I'll explain the code. All right, so it created a post controller, then it created a folder called posts in the views, and it generated all these files corresponding to all the 7 actions that it generated. So this is index.html.erb. What is the difference between post. I have a question from Amod. What is the difference between post.new and post.create? Why are these two methods required? All right. So what post.new does is it initializes the new post object and it displays the form. What post.create will do, so once you enter information in the browser that is that displays your post form, it sends a post request which will then go and save the post object for which you have entered values for. So your new action is nothing but creating a new post object and displaying the fields. When user enters in data in it, your create method will be invoked, which accepts a post request and saves that particular post to the database. I hope that answers your question. All right. So let's see this in action first. But before that, I'll just go through what all things that is created. So we've seen the controller, we've seen the model, we've seen the views. Then let's see our DB folder. So inside our DB folder, it has created a migration. So what does it say? It says create table posts. So the name of the table is posts, which is corresponding to the model post. It has 2 fields, string, a string type field, which is title, and a text type field, which is body. Then it has 2 additional fields called created at and updated at. So you don't have to manage those fields. It will save the current date time when a post is created and the current date time when a post is updated. You don't have to manage them. Rails will automatically do them for you. All right. So this migration you will have to run. So I will be doing rakedb migrate. So this is the file, and this file will be run by the migrate command. So my table will be created now. So once this migration runs, its effects will be reflected in your schema.rb. So this is the schema.rb file. So my migration has run. So that there is a table called post, and it has fields called title and body, and 2 additional datetime fields called created at and updated at. So my migration is run. So let's see the effect. Okay. So localhost 3000 / posts. So this will list down all the posts. So it has created this page for me. Himanshu, I'll answer your question in a while. So it created this page for me. This is the index.html file that we saw. I'll go in detail. I'll explain the code. But first, let's see this in action. So it has a link called new post. When I click this, it has two fields, title and body. So let us say I enter title 1 and body 1 and I create post. So this is the post show page, which is the detail page. And I can click back, which takes me to the index page again, the listing page. And if you see, it has now listed the post that I created, title 1 and body 1. And there are 3 links to it, so I can edit it. When I edit it, the fields will be auto-filled with the value that I put in. So let us say I do this, I change some value, and again it has taken me to the show page. When I click back, it has landed me on the listing page, and again there is if you see, the change has been reflected in my body. Let me just create another post. So you have title 2 and let us say body 2. So if you see, now 2 posts are there, and if I click destroy, it has given me a pop-up asking me if I'm sure. I click OK and it has been deleted. So all this functionality, the 7 operations, um, create, new and create, edit and update, the index and the show page and the destroy page. All this functionality has been given to us by a simple scaffolding command. I did not code for any of it, I just ran the command and it's there for me. So let's understand the code behind it now. Let's see. In my controller, let's check out the index action. So what does it do? I told you the index of request first lands on the controller. The controller asks the model to fetch information from the database. So this is the post model. It's with the capital P, and that's how it is signified. And it has called a method called all. Nicholas will be ending the session in another 5 to 10 minutes. So there's a method called all on it, which fetches all the post objects. So it does a select star from posts. So if you see the log, this is the development log, and everything got let me just clear it once. So I've cleared the log, and if I hit this again, if I hit this URL again, let's see what got printed in my log. So what did it do? It said send a get request to slash posts, invoke post controller index action, and this is the request, this is the SQL it executed. Select post dot asterisk from post. So nothing but fetching all the information from all your records from your posts table. So that's what it did. So it took this uh, in a variable called post, so put it in the post variable and passed it on to my index.html.arb. So what did it do? It is now access to this posts variable. So it basically added a table for these are the headers, title and body. In the body itself of the table, it iterated over the posts variable and printed each post's title and body, and then it displayed links for the details page, for the edit page, and the destroy action. And it also displayed a link for creating a new post. So you see, it's very, all this, had you been using any other language, you would not have had this simple generator which generates so much of functionality for you. If you see, this is as simple as creating a link. So I have a simple helper called Nitu, which will create an anchor tag. This is the text that I want to display, and this is the URL for it. So, with the help of these simple little things, you can coding in Rails is very easy and a lot faster. So at the end of, let's say, 5 minutes, I have a working CRUD operation. So CRUD is create, read, update, delete. So I have a working CRUD operation for my post resource. I didn't have to add any code for it. And even if you did, write code from scratch, it's very simple. If you see, it's almost English-like, iterating over an array, accessing the methods, displaying links. So if you see, this is the confirmation pop-up. So this was about it's a little sample application for creating posts. Let's go back to our slides. So we saw the controller that was generated, and this was the view. All right. So this was about it. Mm, we had a look at the advantages. We had a look at the advantages of learning Ruby. We saw the principles of then we saw the principles of Rails, which is dry and convention over configuration. Then we created a bare bones Rails application and saw the display page. Then we learned about what is MVC and what is the cycle. And then we created a very small, simple Rails application, which is post. So you can add something like author to it and comments to it. Everything by the same scaffolding, and in 15 minutes you will have a basic application to work on. All right, so I'm going to take questions now. Okay. So I've already answered what is the difference between post and post.new and post.create. Okay, so if I want to, next question is from Himanshu. If I want to add or remove any field from the table, we can do that without generating a migration. No, you will have to do any manipulation with your database, you will have to generate a migration. So the principle in Rails is that you don't touch your database by your hand. You always write your migration and that will touch your database. So for everything there is a migration. If you want to look more into it, you can check out the guide. So Rails guides for migration. You can check this out. Right now you saw the migration for creating a table. There are migrations for updating, deleting, renaming, even adding data. So this is the page for it. You can have these standalone migrations. So for example, so this is what you were asking, right? If I want to add column or remove a column. So this is for adding a column. All right. Mm, then which one is better for getting a job? Ruby on Rails or Groovy on Rails? I would say Ruby on Rails because it's more popular. There are more jobs in it. So yeah, that's more popular. So how next question is from Amod. How can we debug code in Rails? All right. So there is something called debugger. So let me show you. I'm not sure if I'll be able to show you because I'll have to install a gem. So what you can do is you can simply go to your gem file and you can install the prior gem. So what it will do, let me see if I can do it right away or not. No, I'll have to install the gem. I don't have it on my local machine. So you can install the prior gem and there are various other gems. And what it will do, wherever you write pry in your execution flow. So for example, here when I was executing, I can write something like you know, binding.try. So whenever this line executes, your control will stop here, your server will stop here, and it will give access to you a command line. Now this command line will have everything in context. So on those command line, you will be able to write, let us say, posts. So you will be able to see. So basically, it loads the context of wherever this binding.try is written. All right. So it's very simple to debug code in Rails, basically. Also, the Rails error messages are very, very, self-explanatory. So by looking at the error message, you will be able to find out what is the error. Okay. Next question is from Nicholas. How long did it take me to learn Ruby? It didn't take me long to learn Ruby, but so basically, if you want to go for Ruby on Rails, you don't have to learn a lot of Ruby. So you can just pick it up in, let us say, a week. So, if you take our course, we have 2 sessions on Ruby, 2 classes, and that is more than sufficient to cover Ruby. So, but if you want to learn Ruby in depth, then it should take some time. So, like let's say a month or so, and then after that some practice. But if you want to learn enough Ruby just for learning Rails, it will take a week. All right. Um, any other questions? All right, guys. No more questions. So, okay, I have a question from Amod. Uh, how can we customize views? By customizing, you want to change something, right? So let us say you want to change this view. You want to write, um, something like see all the posts, right? Or let us say you want to write, you want to see the ID or the created at time, right? So I can add a row here. I can just change this. I can change this view. So I can do something like created at, and I added a header for created at. And then let's see here. I will do something like td dot created at. This will display the raw output to me right now, but I can format it using strf time, and there are other functions in Rails. So let me show you its effect. So what did I do? Just I'll summarize. I changed this header. Then I added another column for displaying the created at field that's there in post. And I told you it will be automatically updated. And I did a post dot created at. So let's see this. So now if you see, it has added a column. You see all the posts here. It has added a column, and it has displayed its value. Now it's this output is not very pretty, but you can make it pretty. There are other methods like strf time, which formats the time. So that's something that you can do. All right. So let me check the other questions. Okay. I have a question from Sirtaj. He's asking which is a good server for deploying ROR applications. So if you want to use a free service, you can use Heroku. And deploying applications on Heroku is very simple. The only caveat is that it uses a Postgres database. So your application has to be Postgres compatible. But if you don't want to use Heroku, like if you are willing to pay, you can use a combination of Apache Passenger on your server, and it's good enough. Apache Passenger. Apache being the web server and Passenger being the application server. Okay, does it have a good IDE or you use something like Sub? I'm using Sublime for it, but there is an IDE called RubyMine. Sublime already has a bundle for Ruby. So if you see, my Ruby code is already highlighted. So for example, link to show, this is already highlighted. So I'm using the Ruby bundle, but you can use the RubyMine IDE. And if you are using a Mac machine, you can use TextMate's bundle for Ruby on Rails. It will also do highlighting. All right. How can we use any slider? Let's say a rev slide. I'm not aware of this, Himanshu. You will have to expand on it, expand on the question. By slider, do you mean an HTML slider? Abhishek, if you want, Abhishek is asking me the source where I can learn ROR basics. So one thing that you can do is enroll in our course, but I would recommend Ruby on Rails guides. It's an excellent resource. And other than that, I can recommend Railscasts by Ryan Bates. They are online videos. Again, an excellent source. Yes, so you can implement anything basically with your with ROR. jQuery is already included. So for example, I can have a script tag anywhere. Usually we put any JavaScript code in our app assets in JavaScripts. So I can write any code here, but your templates will also support script tags. So I can do a script tag here and write any code basically. Let us say alert something. Sorry, wrong place. I can do that. And if you see the gem file, sorry. And if you see the gem file, I'll show you the gem file. Um, the gem file already has jQuery Rails. So jQuery is bundled for Rails, and you can add anything in jQuery, any slider. You just need to include it in your application, and you can start using it. So the relevant library for your slider you will put under here, and it will be automatically included in your page source, and you can use it. All right. So let's get back to the other questions. All right. All right. I guess there are no more questions, so I'll end this session. So I hope this session was good for you, and so you have the alert that are displayed here. Okay. So any questions, you can let us know anytime. I didn't get your question, Abhijit. Can you ask your question once again? I think I missed a question from Amod as well. He was asking how can we add external style sheets. So you can add your style sheets in the style sheet folder, and they will be automatically picked up by the application. So this is the style sheets folder, and they'll be picked up. Abhijit, you will have to retype your question because I think I missed your question. Okay, session hijacking. All right. Sorry, I had to scroll. Yes. Okay. So, okay. So, guys, this session has exceeded its time that was allotted. So, anybody who wants to leave can leave. I'll be taking personal questions, but if you want to leave, you can. All right. So, session, you told me that it can be used for session hijacking. Every programming structure had have some loopholes. Can you tell me what are the loopholes in Ruby? So this basically, badly written code can lead to a lot of hijacking. So for example, what is a SQL injection? Um, so for example, this was my post form, right? So if I add a, something here, which is a SQL statement, and it gets directly stored in my database, and when I display it, the SQL can be run, right? The SQL can be executed. So basically anybody with malicious intent can access, can put some SQL in the body, and when I access this particular body, it will be executed, and have they can do anything with my database basically. Now good programming practice is to escape whatever the user has inputted. So there's something called escaping the user input. So what it does is, if there is any SQL, it will put it in their quote, and in quotes, and not execute it basically. So if you don't do that, you have to do that explicitly. If you don't do that, your uh, your website is exposed to hijacking, right? So there are a lot of things basically. So bad programming practices lead to all this. And there were a lot of inbuilt things in Rails that you can that lets you achieve a lot of security. Next question is from Himanshu. What is the use of different environments? All right. So different environments are basically for different needs. So when you are developing, you want to be able to make some change in your code and quickly see it on your browser, right? Whereas in your production, your aim is that the speed of your application should be very fast. The render time, the response time when the page gets rendered should be very fast. Now in your test environment, you want to probably work with a lot of different inputs, and see how does your code react to a lot of inputs, right? Now these are different, these are the different intentions. So to manage these different intentions, you have different environments and different configurations. So in your development environment, your source code is loaded on every request, whereas in production, your caching, your source code caching is turned on by default. In your test environment, your database gets flushed on every request, on every time you run your tests, and it will be recreated every time. So nothing is permanently stored in your database. You can't access it in the next test. So next test cycle. So this is the intention of having different environments, and you can mix and match some of the configuration, and create a new environment of your own, and run your server in that environment. Okay. Next question is from Abhijit. There are queries which can take the user data from your database, SQL injection, and the similar question is from Sartaj. Guys, you will have to look up online for detailed information about SQL injections, but I will point out a resource on the Ruby guide itself. So SQL injections, just a second. So this particular part is about SQL injections, and how they can happen and how Rails can prevent it, and what all practices should you follow to prevent it. But a detailed one is out of scope for the session. All right. Next question is from Abhijit. All the payloads are converted from Ruby to Python in Linux. Why is it? I'm not sure of your question. I don't understand your question exactly. Can you point out? Can you point me to the exact resource that you are referring to? Let me just look up what you are saying, and then probably I can understand your question. Abhijit, this looks like an advanced topic. So what you can probably do, you can contact the support team, and they will get in touch with me. And even I need to do some R&D on it, so I can probably let you know more about it. So you can get in touch with them, and I can, we can discuss this. All right. Any other questions, guys? All right, guys. Thank you so much. But before I go, there is some information for you. So if you take the course with Edureka, it covers all the fundamental concepts of object-oriented programming and web applications. You will be doing Ruby scripting. We'll be looking in depth in MVC architecture and advanced topics like gems and plugins. We'll be looking into deployments as well. We'll be doing API conventions. We'll be deploying a sample application on Heroku. So this is the last session. So we have a dedicated session for deploying and testing. We'll be doing front end and back end database collaborations. Um, it will enable learners to build web apps using powerful Rails framework, which is highly dynamic object oriented, which uses the dynamic and object oriented language Ruby. We will be also implementing a project in the end of the course. The course will be for 30 hours. It will be divided in 10 sessions, 3 hours each. 2 sessions will be for Ruby and rest of the sessions will be for Rails. And among these 8 sessions, 3 will be dedicated to MVC. So the model in one session, view in one session, controller in another. So pretty in-depth details, and then we'll be covering the advanced topics in the next 4 sessions. You have assignments for 25 hours total. Then the project is worth 20 hours, and you have a lifetime access of 24/7 support. So your questions will be answered within 24 hours. You can ask questions all 7 days a week, and even after the course finishes, you can ask us questions and we'll get back to you. Alright guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much. I'll be ending this screencast now.